Hey guys, my name is Umo. Welcome to University of Pattern Drafting. If you are not subscribed to this channel, please pause right now and click on the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. And if you are new to this family, welcome. Okay, so this video is a continuation of our training on corset mastery, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to sew on your boning channels, how to sew your boning, originally boning to your lining fabric, and then I'm going to also show you how to trim the cup, the lining for your cups. Okay, so here I am trying to sew on my boning channels. So I'm sewing on my boning channel to my corset panels. So remember that I ironed my seams flat and apart, just so that when I'm sewing everything will be flat. And then also you can also cross check, fold your corset into two and just cross check that the two cups have the exact same shape. Very important. Okay, so first off, this is me just trying to ascertain the length for the first panel. This is the fifth panel actually, so just trying to ascertain the length of the boning that would be required for that panel. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start sewing on my boning channels. Remember that the width of this folded rectangular piece of fabric is about 3/4 of an inch, while my boning 3/4 of an inch, yeah, I think so, or maybe one inch, sorry, it's about 1 inch, and then my boning is 1/2 an inch. So now in sewing, I'm going to ensure that I sew along the seam that I used to join this fourth and the fifth panel together. Do you understand? So you are sewing directly on that seam, on the joining. So ensure that you're sewing directly on that joining. I'm going to show you what it looks like when, what it should actually look like when you're done sewing. When you're done sewing and then you've ironed, so I'll show you what it should actually look like. So they're sewing cuts, but in cutting, just leave maybe about 1 inch. Make the boning channel at about 1 inch longer than your corset length. So can you see I'm sewing directly on that? I can't see it, but I can feel it. Do you understand? So I'm sewing directly on that seam, on that joining. So this is it. So I'm just going to go ahead now and crop off my excess, so that when I bend over this boning channel, no excess would show. Do you understand? And then it doesn't just add unnecessary bulk to that point. So I'm just cropping off my excess, leaving about 1/8 of an inch or maybe 1/4 of an inch. So this is me just cropping it out. Can you see that I have sewn this thing on the seam, along that seam? You might not be able to see it, but you should be able to feel it. Can you see that? So you can't even see any seam. Can you see? So as I've bent it over now, you can't see any seam on the corset itself. So you're going to have to go ahead and do that for all 10 or so panels. I think they're about 10 panels or maybe 9 panels. So same thing, sew along the seam, also on top of the seam rather, leaving about an inch excess on top and then an inch excess at the bottom of your corset. So if you found this training helpful so far, please ensure that you give this video a like. I would really appreciate that, because this has taken a lot of effort, guys, like serious effort. So finish up your seams and then cut out the excess. ensure that you've sewn it along the seam or directly on top of the seam of your corset panel. Okay, so you can see how this looks like. So you can just, especially if you don't have pressing bars, you can just go ahead and just use the boning directly to see if it will fit in properly. So I'm going to do that for all the other channels, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So also I am going to have to sew boning on my modesty panel. The essence of sewing boning on it is just to give it, so it's not just flimsy, do you understand? So it gives it a bit of structure, so that I can just, so it doesn't, when you try to lace up, it doesn't just fall, do you understand? So it stands on its own. So first off, in sewing the boning, remember for this one, for the modesty panel, you're going to be sewing the boning directly, sewing on the boning directly. So make sure you're sewing along that indentation. If you try to sew on this part, your thread will keep cutting and it will be such a difficult ordeal for you. So sew along that tiny valley or the indentation. That's where you're supposed to sew if you're sewing directly on your ridgeline boning. So here I have sewn on all my created all my boning channels, and I think I have gone ahead to cut out the excess seam. Can you see that I'm going ahead to cut out the excess seam? So I'm just going to go ahead and press these channels the right way. And then for the center panel, remember that we don't have a cut in at the center front. Remember, we cut it on fold. So what we're going to do is, this is how we're going to sew this one. Can you see that? So sew along that, place it, ensure that it is equal on both sides, at the top and at the bottom. To do that, you can fold your corset shell fabric into two. Fold your shell fabric into two and notch the center point at the top and at the bottom, and then place it in such a way that when you sew this one on, you would have the same amount of fabric on both sides. Do you understand? So this is what it is going to look like after you're done sewing. Can you see that? And then now I'm going to show you how to also trim the fabric for the lining of your cup area. So place it inside and then begin to pin. Ensure that it is sitting properly inside, and then you can start to pin. So once you're done pinning, you can now cut out all of the excesses around. Do you understand? Leaving about maybe a quarter of an inch just for safety, because if you sew it on like this, it means that the lining fabric would be bigger than the fabric you used to wrap your cup, gents, and then it won't look neat inside. So you have to also trim it since you've trimmed your shell fabric. Do you get? So same thing, pin, but in this case you don't pull, just pin. Let it sit inside very well inside the cup. Let it sit very well inside the cup and then pin, so that it won't be too tight, so that your bust can just sit inside comfortably. So pin. If you forgot to subscribe, I am reminding you for the upteenth time, guys. As in, please pause and hit that subscribe button. Like, it matters a lot to me. So please take out time to ensure that you subscribe. Thank you. And so now I'm going to go ahead and just trim out the excess. And then also, as I mentioned in the previous video, I'm going to be giving updates as regards our um, training, the advanced corsetry class that's coming up. So we're going to be doing a lot of things, as I mentioned earlier, corsets with yokes, um, corset with sleeves, Victorian. We're going to be I'm going to be drafting the pattern for a Victorian corset, and then we're going to be creating it. And you know, a Victorian corset is a proper corset. Do you understand? So I am going to be doing that in the advanced class. And then the essence of even picking out a style and making a style that involves corsets that show outside and corsets that are sort of like invisible. The essence of doing that is also to show you how to finish your occasion wears that involves corsets, gents, and so you just have clean, really clean and proper dresses, so you can deliver really clean and proper dresses to your clients. Okay, so this is me trimming out all of the excesses, and I really hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please go ahead and give this video a like. So trim out the excesses, and then I'm going to show you my lining fabric. So also for my lining fabric, I have joined my lining fabric, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew boning onto my lining fabric. So start from about 1.25 inches from the top of your corset, and also stop at 1.25 inches at the bottom of your corset. Do you understand? Remember that I mentioned sew on that indentation, don't sew on the serrated middle portion. Do you understand? So I hope this is clear. And then do that for all of these pieces, and then you can decide whether or not you want to put at that center, guys. So thanks for watching, guys. Ciao.